Happy for joining me again for an episode of Success Link with America's Supermom. I love this platform, being on LinkedIn, being able to talk to great, phenomenal guests who give us lots of insight on how we can be better in our personal lives or our professional lives. They give us these tips that help us to continue to grow and be better versions of ourselves. So I'm so excited to be here with you as we are quickly approaching a new month. Can you believe that September is like right around the corner? I can't believe it. Before you know it, Christmas will be here. And I'm all about, as you can see behind, doing things early so that they are not as overwhelming. So, my guest today is Suzanne Castle, and I had the privilege of being on her platform. And I'm excited to have her join us today as we talk about creativity. So, I want to show you a couple of things before we get into that wonderful conversation. So, thank you so much for joining. Grab a notebook and a pen so that you can take lots of notes. I'll see you in a minute. All right, guys. I think that's a lot of information, but it's a lot happening in my world. I do have 15 kids, y'all. So it's hard to keep it straight with them, let alone all the great connections that I encounter and business opportunities. So thank you guys so much for being a part of that. So I am excited to connect again with one of my connections. Again, Suzanne is here with us today. So I am going to bring her on as we talk about creativity with some of the challenges that we may be facing. So, hey, Suzanne.
Morning, lovely human. I'm so glad to be here and spend a few moments with you. What a great start to my weekend. Thank you.
I am so glad that you're here and you are a woman on the move. I mean, I had such a great time on your show. And before we get into all this great content and conversation, share with everybody a little bit about you and, what's going on in your world.
Oh gosh, like you, and like I'm sure everyone that checks this show out, that watches you, that follows you continually, I think we're all pretty driven, heart-minded people. And so when you're heart-minded, you always have several projects and people you're helping and institutions that you're serving, and I am the same. So I'm a former ballerina and actress, entertainer professionally, and after kind of an accident and some personal trauma, have left that, and now spending all my time and energy writing and speaking, really curating spaces for people to find what I call the sparkle factor, which is that internal light that I think sometimes our schedules, our world, different narratives tell us that we shouldn't let that shine. And so I've made it kind of my mission. I call it my takeover plan of the universe to really help people recapture what that life, that vision is, and then help them create a sustainable life and business to make those dreams come true. So that's really the work that I'm doing right now. I am literally on the move, like you said, because I'm literally in a temporary house with a pantry door behind you. That's how you know this is real life. You don't know beautiful anything behind me. And so moving from one space to the next. So thank you again for hosting me today.
Oh, you are so welcome. And I love the background because I'm all about no excuses. Okay. It's
Right.
like, hey, it works. It's clear. We can just film right here. But, being a ballerina, talk to us about the stamina, the health consciousness about that particular sport. Cause I think a lot of people think, okay, yeah, you're just dancing around. But the discipline, I mean, I could think of a number of things that just come to mind.
Right.
What would be one thing that you said that you would feel prepared you for what you're doing today by being a ballerina?
Well, first, I want to applaud you for saying that it's a sport because
Mhm,
I think a lot of times when people think ballet, you think of the 3 or 4 year old that's can
mhm,
barely point their toe in the cute little tutu, or those kinds of dance. But professional dancers, they spend between 10 and 12 hours a day in physical exertion. So I would say what actually helped me along that path was really my dad.
mhm,
He is a very driven individual, and I grew up very, very, very poor. Food stamps was my norm, and a house in not a great neighborhood, and
mhm,
my parents were both working and going to school, and I think they modeled for me that when you want something, you work for it. It's not ever going to be handed to you. You have to constantly work. And so from a young age, I was working, like working, helping in any way that I can, in any way, shape, or form. And I took that with me into the studio and was blessed enough to be chosen to be on the stage in a lot of different areas and arenas. But I had a work ethic that I think was established by my family, that when times were hard, I'm like, all right, I can moan and groan, or I can go, okay, what can I do now? And so I think if I would impart anything to people checking this out, would be ask yourself right now if you are stuck. And that's my model, is stuck is never the furthest you can go. So if you are feeling stuck right now, ask yourself, what is one small step I can take? What is one small thing I can do? Sometimes it's getting inspiration from a person. Sometimes it's, okay, let me reclaim my diet. Like, okay, I ate a bucket of
mhm.
popcorn and a tub of ice cream last night because I was binging and I just was elephant eating and didn't realize everything I was putting in my mouth, right? But today I get to start over again. So what's one step forward? So maybe this morning I have a protein shake instead, and let's reset my system. So I think breaking it down into smaller steps, I think, is one way in which really established me to be like, I'm going to be tenacious and stay in this space and do what it takes.
I love that. Now, so walk us through that feeling when you really had that realization that you were a professional ballerina. I mean, was it that you got this one part or what was it that happened? I'm really intrigued by this.
Well, it's funny that you say that. It actually wasn't that. So one of my roles was like in the fourth grade,
Mhm.
and I was in a play. And,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking about this because about a couple of weeks ago, someone posted that picture. And they were like, look at little Susie Castle when she was 9 years old on the stage. And I mean, I was like, oh. And so I think for me, it all kind of coalesced
Mhm.
when I was auditioning a lot and then got roles that I was really hoping for. So like in Annie and Peter Pan. And so I think it was, and this sounds shallow, but please don't take this away, but it was the affirmation that what I'm choosing to do, that I can do.
I
So
love that.
yeah. So external affirmation, and that doesn't need to be, well, today it would be like social media might be someone's drive, but that I'm not
Mm.
talking about. I
Yeah.
think sometimes life is so hard that you need an external force reminding you that you are doing the right thing, you're on the right path. So it could be parents or friends or work or something. And for
Mhm.
me, it was, really beating out what I thought was people who were a little bit more talented than I am.
Mhm.
And I remember I got one of my roles. It was between me and another person, and I got that role because they said, "Okay, why should we choose you over, this other person in an interview?" And I said, "Because I'm going to bring the razzmatazz. Like I will bring the razzmatazz on a stage. That's what you have to bring, the sparkle factor, right?"
Yeah.
And I got the role over this other person who I think was probably a little more talented than I was, but was very
Mhm.
technically perfect, and they wanted a showstopper, right? And so
Mm.
maybe find in your own self as you're catching this interview, what about you is your show-stopping magic, right?
Mhm.
What do you do that just draws people to you? Maybe it's the way that you follow up with notes. Maybe it's
Mhm.
how you always are available to friends when they're in need. Maybe it's the fact that you can drive Meals on Wheels, right? Or that
Mhm.
you can go to an elementary school and read, and that's your superpower. I just really think finding that is a crucial way to be in the world.
I love that. And, I love that element of being able to speak up for yourself.
Yeah.
So when somebody is watching now and they're like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or, arrogant," what would you say to them?
I would say I get it. First and
Mhm.
foremost, I get it because I think so much of the influencer world that we have on various social media outlets and just media in general has
Mhm.
made it be difficult for us to say, here's who I am, here's what I do, and why we should either partner together or come towards each other or follow me, right? And so
Mhm.
if you're not a person that has 100,000 comments on a post, let's say, then you might think that what you have isn't valuable. So, but I
Mhm.
think we've got to reverse that kind of way of thinking
Mhm.
and say, at the end of the day, one of the questions that I ask myself is, what meaningful thing did I do today that
Mhm.
forwards my cause in the world? And fill in the blank for whatever cause that is. So you see,
Mhm.
it's not, how much money did I make? How many phone calls did I return? How many
Right.
emails did I get to? It's that. And so I think when you begin to say, today I did. I'm a big boxer rescue. I have dogs, and I'm a big dog rescue person. So today I helped save a dog that was in a drug dealer's backyard. Okay,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if that's furthered my cause for love in the world, then I was successful, which then turn around the next day and it makes it easy to say, hey, I am in the middle of helping to rescue dogs. What are you in the middle of? And you begin to
Mhm.
have conversations differently than, look at me, I'm so amazing. I mean, come towards me. That's pretty selfish. But instead to say, here's what I'm working on to better the world, I think that allows people access to you in a different way.
I love that. I mean, that is just like, a lot of these things we don't think about because we are comparing ourselves to other people,
Right?
looking at their highlight reels, right? And, forgetting to be in the moment and being present. So I love how you reminded us to do that. So we have Kimberly watching. Hello, Kimberly.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us. So we're over to creativity in these outcomes. And I think this is important because I was in a clubhouse room earlier today, and we had a gentleman who was talking about a challenge that he had. And as we were giving him suggestions, he kept saying, this is the way that I have always done it. It's like that tunnel vision is only one way. This is the way that works. I
Right.
just need to keep doing this. So, we can get stuck in that perfect way or that same way, and we don't have any creativity.
Right.
So, walk us through how we can kind of begin that process because I think this is very important for a
You
lot
know,
of us in our businesses.
I think there's a couple things at play if you find yourself in that space. One, when you utter those words, you are telling your brain, I don't need you to be creative.
Mm,
So, and we've talked about this before a little bit offline, but a lot of my work now is in like neurodynamic theory and what happens to your brain cells when you are or are not creative. And
mhm,
so you have to be putting oxygen in your brain. You have to be asking your brain to do hard things if you want to create new neural pathways. Without a new neural pathway, you can't see possibilities, literally. You
mm,
only see what you know. And
mhm,
so to do that, you have to try different things that might be uncomfortable. So if you're catching this show and you're wondering, well, what's one way I could do that?
mhm,
I would say in the kitchen. So substitute an ingredient of your favorite recipe and just try something else. So like if it requires noodles, use rice instead.
mhm,
What happens? It might fail, but you might find something different. That's an easy thing for people to do. I also think playing is a really important aspect to this work.
mhm,
So maybe if you're struggling to finish a task or to finish a project, stop working, go get moving. So go grab some bubbles and blow bubbles outside. You're going to laugh. People are going to stare at you. You're going to look fun. That's great.
mhm,
Maybe it's just walking. Maybe you're going to walk around your house. You're
mhm,
getting pumping oxygen will help you automatically be more creative because your cells will expand. And your cells expand, they
mhm.
try to do new things. When you're doing new things, you create new neural pathways, and before you know it, you're probably going to imagine a different future or possibility for you.
I love that. I think that is so good. And Kimberly is engaging and she's saying that music is one of the things to really kind of get that creativity going as well. So,
Absolutely. And Kimberly, I would love to know if you have like a playlist that you use. I have
mhm.
several. So I have I call it Shake Your Tail Feather. So in my iTunes, I have Shake Your Tail Feather music, and it's when I'm feeling a little slumpy or my energy is waning a little bit. If I'm working on something and I really want to get moving on it, I put on that playlist. And it does great things. And I'm also a big car karaoke person. So if you're in Texas where I am and you see me on the freeway and you see me just belting it out, that's what I'm doing. And I
Mhm.
think, finding those ways to just really allowing different kinds of art forms and music to play into us will make you understand life differently. And so I think keeping art in schools is absolutely crucial.
So true. And I think, we kind of just have this way of thinking there's only one way to do things. And I love that whole thing about creativity in the kitchen because, and hey, I know how to be creative with that. It was so funny. Yesterday, I made hamburgers. And so I thought I had enough buns. I don't know. One of my kids was like, "Where are the buns at?" And I was like, "They're in the kitchen." I said, "Well, hey, take off the crust of a piece of bread and make your own bun." Because I saw one of my other children was doing that earlier. And it's like, you learn to think about what's the end goal.
Right.
So, with this mindset of being creative, walk us through, kind of reverse engineering or whatever your formula is for that, because I love the suggestions that you made.
Well, one of the things that we've done at Disney in the past that I think is really important is being. Sometimes you might need a partner to do this work. So I want to say that. So find someone
Mhm.
like yourself that you could bounce ideas on. But I should have had my Disney ears here. But take us something if you're just needing to spark some creative solutions. You could take like let's use my blue light glasses for example. Okay,
Mhm.
and you just go okay. What else? So these are blue light glasses, but what else are they? And then you just and set a timer for 60 seconds and write all the things that they could possibly be. So are they, I don't even know what they could be. Lachelle, what else could these be? Like,
They could be, energy,
yes, yes,
reflectors. I don't know.
yeah, there you go. They could also be appetizer servers, like two little appetizers could sit
Oh,
on them
yeah.
and carry the tray, right? So what you want to do is you want to take some kind of common object and say, what else could this be? And just start a list.
Mhm.
When you start doing that, it doesn't have to be feasible. That's like feasibility goes out the window. You've got
Right.
enough money, all the technology is there, you have a team around you that can make whatever happen. That's where you want to start. And you just want to start by making a list of other possibilities. It doesn't matter because, again, your brain will then start looking exactly what I was about to say, Kimberly, at problem solving. And when you problem solve, that's all about possibility thinking. And in our world right now, if you watch and consume any kind of news at all, I'm not sure they're focused on possibility thinking,
Right.
right? Problem solving. It's really just let's throw something at this or throw something at that, or I'm angry about this or I'm angry about that. Instead of saying, okay, what are all the different ways we could bring people to the table? Or how are all the different things that are going on in the world that we could do something creatively? And
Mhm.
so when you take reality out of it, as hard as that is, it
Mhm.
will allow you to kind of dream bigger and differently.
I love that. Now, so you used to work for Disney? This is how you,
I've done things with Disney. So
okay.
and I would encourage anyone, regardless of your profession, if you will please look at like Disney's, they have courses that you can take, and a lot of them are online. So if you
Oh.
want to do some creative leadership, I would recommend that. Disney has a whole, whatever you think about the Disney company, they have a whole book line that you can use about creative thinking, about adaptability, about conflict management, about hospitality. And so if you pick up a lot of those kinds of books, they will do principles of Disney, which a lot of their principles are to fail forward, like really
Mm.
like don't worry of whether or not this is a success, but creatively adapt to something in the middle and you will find greater possibility for you. There's a lot of people doing this work. Google does a lot of this work as well.
Mhm.
Target is infamous for doing this kind of work. And so find a company and just start reading and consuming and following them on social media and see what possibilities might emerge.
I love that. My daughter, she just got in from work, so I'm over here waving. I was trying to do this side wave. She comes forward and it's like, "Hey, I need to be seen." But so I love the idea of thinking about some of these major companies because we just use Google for what? YouTube stuff and trying to look something up. We don't even consider, how we can really incorporate more growth
Right.
personally with some of these different resources. So I love that. So how did you come up with the sparkle? I mean, I think that is so good. That's why I wore this hat because I thought
I know,
she's
and I'm
got
so
some
glad.
sparkle going on here. But because I think a lot of people we do get down on ourselves, and it's something that I've have been challenged with in the past of comparing myself to other people, and you can just put yourself further and further down, and it's hard to get up from that.
That's right.
So how can we make sure that we do this every day or check in with ourselves? What is it that you recommend for that?
Well, I think, like I was saying earlier, really your sparkle factor is what drives you, that internal light that's inside of you. And only you know that, right? So,
Mhm.
so the first thing is I really understand your values in the world. And so I think it's very difficult to make decisions out of values if you're not strong in your values. So the first step I would say is if you have not done kind of a values identification in a while, I know Lachelle can help you with that. I can help you with that. You can go online. There's a lot of people that do this work, but it's really important to know here are my 3 to 5 core values.
Mhm.
Okay, so once you have those, then I think the very next step then is you ask different questions because really that's what leads to the sparkle factor. So for example, in a day when I'm working on my calendar, it's really easy to have 30 things competing for your attention, let's
Mhm.
say.
Mhm.
Okay, but that's not what I start with. It's not the 30 things I need to get done that day. The
Mhm.
first one is what is the one thing that I'm going to do today that's going to further my goal? Whatever goal that might be. My goal might be like my daughter just started college. My
Mhm.
goal might be this week to send her a care package. So, what today can I do to further that goal? It doesn't have to be this big, audacious, hairy goal stuff. It just, what is one
Mhm.
thing I'm going to do today to further that goal? And then the second thing that I ask is, and how did I pour into someone else by the end of the day? That's how
Mhm.
I start my day, meaning that on my calendar somewhere, I'm pouring into someone else, an organization, a person, a something, so that
Mhm.
I'm outside of myself. So one is my internal value-based goals, and then my external. So because service is one of my really big values, and so I want to constantly be about service. And so
Mhm.
if that isn't finding its way on my calendar and my decision making and how I'm doing my outcome, my ROI, like whatever, we're on LinkedIn, everybody's talking
Mhm.
about these things. But if you don't start there, everything else will crowd that out. And I think
Mhm.
that's part of management. And you're brilliant at this, Michelle. I mean, 15 kids, all the things that you do, all your books, all your speaking, you obviously are like an organizational genius. But everybody has to figure out their own way. And I think starting with your value is the way to order your day every day.
I love that, and I love that you said organizational genius because I'm a work in progress, girl. You But I think that's something key to talk about because, we get all in our way about being all things at all times.
Right.
But I think, like what you said, you might have 30 things, but it's doing the right things
Yes.
at the right time. It's not doing all the things, but
Right.
doing the things that matter. So I love that. So this has just been some great, great insight because I think a lot of times, we get into this space. Like I said, it's just the woe is me. How can I move forward? And even just the whole concept of doing one or two things. Now, I love how you said service. And this is another thing that I want to highlight because this was something I struggled with. I was so busy serving others that I didn't have that balance of making sure that I was taken care of or some of the important things. And so when people are gifted in certain things, what is your prescription, so to speak, for having value, but also having that balance with monetizing? Because I think, when we think about serving sometimes, some people feel like, well, oh, well, I'm serving, I'm doing this good thing, but they forget about that monetization piece. So do
Yeah.
you have any advice about that?
Yeah. I think one, several things at play. First,
Mhm.
understanding how you're serving your own self
Mhm.
is a really important concept that I think when people hear the word service, they're always thinking of others,
Mhm.
serving others. But I
Mhm.
can't serve others if I'm not serving myself, right?
Amen.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like being a flight attendant, right? They tell you to put your oxygen mask on first so that you can help somebody else, right? It's the same
Exactly.
thing. Which also means if you're a service-minded person or
Mm-hmm.
business, but you can't be making your bottom line, you will no longer be a service-minded person or business. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to reframe the conversation to say, what can I do here with what I have? And what do I continue to need to do this work? So, for example, in my firm, in my consulting firm, we have two pay scales. So, or charge scales, meaning that we for-profit entities pay one thing and
Mm-hmm.
non-profit entities pay another. And I routinely just give things because I'm able to do that. But I have kind of my structure. I've thought it through. I have it written down so I can refer to it. So it's not just nilly willy out there. So I get to
Mm-hmm.
choose how generous I decide to be. And I would say generosity starts with being okay with my own self, which is if
Mm-hmm.
I need to go binge Virgin River because I'm really stressed out and I need to not think and I haven't really rested and that's the one thing I need to do today, then you are serving yourself to refuel yourself for someone else. Then
Mm-hmm.
you need to go volunteer time. Great. Also, if I need to charge somebody something,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can buy groceries for my family, there's nothing wrong with that either. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think reframing that conversation allows us to be thinking about the monetization a little bit differently.
I love that. And, I hope everybody caught it. You said you have a plan
Yes,
and you have this specific outline. And, you can't build a plan sometimes while you're flying. You
correct.
know, it
That's correct.
has to be, something ahead of time so that you can have that clarity and not be emotionally driven,
Right.
with a temporary situation. So I love that. That is
Well,
amazing.
honestly, you know this too. Like my plan is literally just a plan. I
Right.
can say after talking to someone, you know what, you need this. I'm in a space where I can do this. So
Hmm.
instead of $100, it's going to be $10.
Right.
But I don't know that unless I have my data to back me up. I've been tracking it. I have a plan and a system. And
Mhm.
so it does allow me to serve someone at a level they might need, but I can't do that just nilly willy all the time.
Yeah.
That is not a plan at all. I mean, it is a plan. It's a plan to not be successful. But I think, taking a moment and getting it down on paper, if you can't do that work, find someone who can help you do that work is really crucial.
I love that. I mean, because, we are emotionally driven.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, those emotions can have you doing some crazy stuff.
Yep.
Okay. So I love that. Now, so what is down for you in the next few months? Because,
Mhm.
we're quickly, I'm, here with Christmas decorations, mind
Yes,
you.
I love it.
But I'm like, it's the end of the year, y'all. We're getting into September. So what are some projects or things that you're working on?
Well, my big thing that I'm working on right now is my annual event. So every year I do an event called Verve, which,
Mhm.
if you know the definition of Verve, it means spirit and enthusiasm. And
Mhm.
every year I do an annual event for women business owners and leaders. And this year we're expanding it to 3 days. So it's coming
Mm.
up at the end of October, and the timing is exactly what you said, because we want to finish our year with gusto,
Mhm.
right? And clarity and understanding. So if everything hasn't worked, that's okay. Let's use the data to change the narrative before the end of the year so that when 2023 gets here, we are attacking it with goals, with mindset, and with alignment. So Verb is really that space where people get to reset and rejuvenate for what's in front of them. And so we do that through curated conversations. We match phosphates together to do strategic friendships. So that's really what I have going on. And because I'm doing that work too, all the time, right? October is going to be here before we know it. And I'm like, wow, what's my 2023 plan? Right. And so
Right.
how do I start January 1? It starts now so I can have everything in place. So really that's the work that I'm focused on. And my show, Thought Leader Thursday, you were a fabulous guest.
Oh, thank
And I think, connecting other thought leaders in various industries to each other is really the way to grow
you.
ourselves and others at a different level. So that's really
Yeah.
what I'm focused on right now.
And, I love that whole thing about planning ahead, and that just lights me up the fact that, we're talking about 2023 already, because my kids and husband, I'm like, oh, way past Christmas. And they're like, wait a minute, we haven't even had Christmas. But it's something about it reduces my stress to be
Right.
able to think past it. And then I feel like I can be present because I'm not thinking about 1,000 other things. I've already planned it.
Right.
So I can be present with what's going on.
That's absolutely right. And again,
Mm.
I think we choose by
Mhm.
failing to plan to be panic
Right.
driven individuals. And
Yeah.
there's no reason. Like,
Yeah.
start now. I love that you do this like Christmas extravaganza for people. Like if today you just want to jot down all the people that you want to gift in some way during the holidays, and
Mhm.
that's the one thing you do today. And then maybe tomorrow you start jotting down a couple of ideas for each of those, so that again your brain will respond, and you'll start to notice. Oh, at Home Goods, I noticed this, or hey,
Mhm.
this book is going to be coming out in November, and that's what I want to buy for XYZ person or client. So,
Right.
telling yourself there's a plan in place then allows your brain to start working of it in the background. And I think that's part of hacking creativity is telling your brain
Mhm.
what to focus on and what to do. And you can't do that if you don't have a plan, ever.
I love that. I love that. Well, this has just been amazing. And I am so grateful that you were on today and your insights have been wonderful.
Yeah.
Kimberly, we want to thank you for being a part of the conversation. I love the engagement. And for those of you that are watching, definitely reach out to Suzanne to find your sparkle factor. I mean, we're all about making sure that we are the best version of ourselves. And so, what better way than to get with someone else? Because a lot of times we just dim our own light, right? We get around people that are used to us being whatever way we are,
Right.
and we kind of minimize the value that we bring to the world. So, I definitely encourage you to reach out. So, share with everybody the best way to get a hold of you.
If you just at Suzanne Castle, I'm on all the platforms, all the places, or you can just go to SuzanneCastle.com. That's Castle like a princess. So SuzanneCastle.com, and everything is there, including you can find the replay of Lachelle's appearance on my show and all sorts of free training and goodies there. So I would love to connect. Drop in a comment, and let's exchange some followership. And I just want to thank you for the way that you serve so many people, because you
Aw.
really are changing people every single day with how you choose to show up and who you are bringing to. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for that. And so, what final words would you like to leave with everybody?
I think ask yourself one question today, and that is before Saturday morning gets here. Like we're doing this on a Friday. If you're catching this on replay or whatever, but we're doing this on a Friday. Before Saturday morning gets here, what is one thing you're going to do for yourself, and one thing you're going to do for someone else?
Mhm.
And if you can have that answered and ready to rock by Saturday morning, you're going to set yourself up for the next week with a lot of success.
I love that. That is great. And that's practical. It's easy, guys. We have to start taking action. That's
Yeah,
what I'm all about, because we can just keep on acquiring all this information. But if we don't put it into practice, we just feel like more of a failure. I know I would feel like that. I'd be thinking about, oh, I need to do this. And then I would never do it. I would just get more information. So
right.
taking action is so key. So thank you so much for that, Suzanne.
Thank you very much. I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend.
Yes. So we want to thank you guys all for watching. Share this video. If something resonated with you, share it with a friend, just one person. You don't have to go putting it on social media and do all this stuff, even though that would be nice. But just share it with one person, whatever that takeaway was, because we're all about making a better impact and helping each other to grow. So we thank you all for watching, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now.